silence, please, for the military.
Praise the Judge of Truth. Begin with Psalm 120. Esai enai ahari me'ayin yavo esri. Ezri me'im Adonai, zeshamayim ba'aretz. Al yitain amot radecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishayim shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzidcha yad yinecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yekeka v'yarech v'layla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzidcha v'oecha, me'acha v'ad olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved, Bernie Bader. Friends grieve in their darkest worlds. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Bernie's love that united many, many people in life, and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and mind that brought joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time of sadness and grief, and so we listen once again to the voice of our sacred scriptures, the sacred liturgy from the Book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the King, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Let us recite together in the English the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's now a privilege to call up from the grandchildren's generation. Brett, you're coming. Who else is coming with you? Brother, Jason, gotcha. And Ron's coming, and somebody in Israel, maybe.
Hi everyone, thank you all for being here today to show your love and support for my Pop, Bernie Bader. Pop has been such a strong presence in my life from my earliest memories. Some of my first memories of Pop involved, of all things, candy. For those of you who know Pop, he was a man that loved to share a meal or treat with his family. I remember being a small child, absolutely in awe, that I had a grandfather who worked in what I thought was the candy industry. We went to also what I thought was a candy factory and ate some big league tea together, and I thought to myself, wow, this guy is pretty cool. As I grew up, Pop and I began to regularly go out and have adventures around Cleveland together. One of my most special memories with Pop was going to Cleveland Public Library and pulling some microfilms to learn about his cousin that was a famous boxer. As time grew on, Pop and I began to have wonderful discussions and became much closer as our interests started to converge. When I went off to Ohio State, I truly believed that Pop thought I had a close relationship with the coaching staff, as he always asked for all the latest gossip about recruits. We also started to talk about politics to some degree and learned that we had some very significant disagreements on how government should work. When I went back to Ohio State for grad school, I'd always look forward to coming home and getting breakfast with Pop, some of which didn't end up on his shirt and actually ended up in his mouth. As Pop grew older and became macular, as he would tell people, I started to take him on errands and read his docs to him out loud. When I moved to Baltimore, I'd like to think my bond with Pop grew even stronger. Pop and I had a new topic to discuss, my job in the federal government, and I was no longer just a recruiting expert. I was now a Medicare expert. I would call Pop, and I could always tell that he loved talking to his friends. I love you more than you know, Pop. Thank you for always being there for your entire family, and especially your grandkids. Pop was such a devoted grandfather. He would always be in the front row of a concert, sporting event, for graduation. You could tell that nothing made him happier in life than Jason, Don, Melanie, and I. I'm so grateful for the 31 years of memory I have with you, Pop. I wish you could have been here to see weddings, great grandkids, and maybe even that Brown Super Bowl one. Going on without you will be tough, Pop, but I'll always cherish my memories. I love you, Pop, and thank you all for being here today to share in our memories. Sorry, I don't have anything prepared, but Pop and I, as he recently called himself instead of Poppy, to all of our shock, we had a harder time finding our interests, but he was always present. He was always there, the biggest of hugs, always a phone call, always asking how we were doing, and always had the most love for me and all the grandchildren equally, even though he would rank us at times. That's who he was. That's who he was, and he was outspoken, and I think I'm very similar in that way, and maybe that's why we had a hard time finding common ground. But I love Poppy very much, and I'm going to miss him, and I hope he rests in peace.
My grandfather, whose Hebrew name is Benjamin, or Binyamin, was a very proud Jew. He used to tell me about the challenges he faced growing up in the heart of Brooklyn, New York. He was the subject of countless anti-Semitic remarks and a participant in his fair share of fistfights. Knowing him, though, he usually came out on top. Despite the struggles that often came along with being a Jew, my grandfather always emphasized the importance of Jewish identity. It was a huge source of pride for him. It's therefore no coincidence that the original Benjamin, the son of Joseph, was the only son out of the 12 tribes to be born in the land of Israel. It's also no surprise the Torah describes Benjamin as Yedid Hashem, the friend or beloved of God. My grandfather taught me so much, and we really had a special bond. His absence at Thanksgiving dinner and other family gatherings will be felt by all of us. Sports games will certainly not be the same without Poppy yelling at the TV. While he will be sorely missed day after day, we must honor him by being proud Jews and cherishing our family members, both things which are so important to him. Yehi Zichro Baruch, his memory should be a blessing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Melanie, go for it.
My first memory of Poppy was when I was little and Ron and I would go over to Grandma and Poppy's house for our weekly sleepovers. We would laugh until our stomachs hurt, hiding under the covers from Bernie Bear, as we called him. He would jump up and scare us and tickle us until we were out of breath. Those sleepovers were a huge part of my childhood, filled with lots of memories that I've cherished ever since. Throughout the years, Poppy was always around, whether it was coming over every morning for coffee or going out to grab food or run errands together. Poppy was always insistent that the whole family be together for holidays and celebrations. He was very family-oriented and always wanted to be surrounded by us. Before I left for Israel, Poppy made sure that the whole family was together to say goodbye to me. I remember going up to him that day, and he told me he wasn't going to let me leave without all of us being together one more time. I'll never forget that. No matter what the circumstances were, Poppy always had our whole family in mind and loved us all immensely. Poppy never failed to make us all laugh, whether it was from singing and dancing to his favorite childhood songs or making hilarious comments and jokes. I wish I had been home to spend Poppy's last few weeks with him and the family, but there's no doubt in my mind that everyone at home surrounded him with unconditional love up until his very last moment. Our family truly won't be the same without him, but he will forever remain in our hearts and minds. I am so beyond thankful to have had a grandfather to spend 18 memorable, loving, and unforgettable years of my life with. I love you so much, Poppy. You will be very, very missed.
to all of those words spoken as a prayer. Let us say that. So we gather this morning, to recall the life of your dear Bernie Bader, Benjamin and Shavara. He was a strong man and a man with a strong personality. If there was something he wanted to do, he did it. As family members talked about Bernie, I was reminded of a section in Parashat Yakel in the book of Exodus, chapter 35. In the Torah portion, this is our ancestors are schlepping through the wilderness on their way to the promised land, where the granddaughter. And at this point, they're commanded to gather materials for the construction of the tabernacle, the Mishkan. The tabernacle was the portable synagogue, the portable temple, which they assembled when they would camp, and then they would disassemble it when they broke camp and went on to their next journey, to the next wilderness destination. They were commanded to bring material gifts for its construction. Everything was going according to plan. Our ancestors brought gifts, and they brought, and there was only one problem. Our ancestors didn't know when to stop bringing. I mean, this doesn't happen in the building project, almost never, right? They didn't know when to stop bringing. And finally, Moses had to make a proclamation. Exodus chapter 36, verse 6. That no man or woman make further effort toward gifts for the sanctuary. And as you were talking of Bernie, and we think about Bernie and his legacy, this Torah teaching describes him beautifully because in so many ways, more ways than have been mentioned today, many more ways, he didn't know when to stop either. He just didn't know when to stop. He was caring, he was generous, he would tickle you until he almost killed you, right? He would argue with you, he would yell at the TV, he would take you out for food, he would give you candy. He was loving, he could be tough. He was proud of his years in the army during the Korean War. And thank God, he didn't know when to stop being all of those things. He was born September 25th, 1933. He was born in Brooklyn, right? His parents of blessed memory, Murray and Ruth. He is one of two children. He is the elder. He is survived by his younger sister, Sandy. And we send condolences to her as well. He married Toby Presser, married Toby on June 5th, 1960. And you may know this, but they met at Corky and Lenny's. He loved deli, and how much better could it be? Did somebody set you up, or were you there for a meal?
No, he was there for pie.
He was there for pie, and he got his sweetie. That would be you. They shared a life of 60 years. As with every marriage, there are blessings and there are difficulties. There is happiness and there are sadness. And for 60 years, they took good care of one another. They were blessed with two daughters, Michelle, her husband Steve, Randy, her husband Mayor, and the grandchildren, Brett, Jason, Ron, and Melanie. Michelle mentioned, Dad made it to 87. He was very sick, and he didn't know it. Really, in so many ways, it's a blessing. He didn't know it. He lived his life. And she mentioned also, until very recently, he rebranded from Poppy to Pop. No one knows why, but he just wanted a new name. So he was a good grandfather. He loved food. He loved taking the grandchildren for good meals. He was proud of his time in the Army. He was working in a MASH unit for maybe 4 or 5 years. And in the hospital, he loved to tell the doctors, probably the nurses too, not only his name and his birthday, because they ask those things before they give you medication, but he also told his Army badge number. To every single one. This is great. I mean, when you go, you want people to have things to remember about the good, the difficult, the things to laugh about. So it sustains us so much. Michelle also said, I really admired his strength and determination, and he never complained. He was kind and funny to everybody. He said in the hospital, he said, I'll do the surgery and treatment. He said, maybe I'll get another year or two. So she said, we weren't religious, but we celebrated the Jewish holidays. And he loved corgis and Jack's chopped liver. And in the hospital, he kept asking for it. You know what? My dad keeps asking me to go to Jack's to bring him salami. He wants a whole big slab. I go and get sliced salami every few days because I don't want my dad with a knife. Randy, you said. He was very strong. He had lots of passions in his life. The Buckeyes, the Browns, the Indians. He was at the Browns championship game, and I had to look this up, 1964, when the Browns defeated the Baltimore Colts 27-0. Here are some invisible lines of connection. Yesterday, the Browns played the Indianapolis Colts, and we beat them 32-23. It was a good game. And we're 4-1. This is almost like, not to be sacrilegious, not. It's like almost we're reaching the times of Messiah. The Browns are 4-1. Although the times of Messiah will be significantly more important. He was an avid antique collector, you said. He loved the stock market. He loved his family. And over the summer, this is what she must have been talking about. The family got together. He really wanted the family to get together. It was the first time we got together in a bunch of years, and that was very, very meaningful to him. 5 weeks ago, he went into the hospital with stomachache, and it turned out to be stage 4 cancer. And then, other things, and a heart attack. But for the most part, he lived his life right up until the end. And as we think about numbers, when you get to these numbers and it was 5 weeks, you go, thank God it wasn't, 5 years of deterioration. So he enjoyed his life right up to the end. And Randy said he had a good meal right before he went into the hospital. The night before, he loved food. And he didn't go looking for things that were wrong with him. He thought, oh, sometimes there's just too much information. He was born in Brooklyn, and I didn't find out how he made it to Cleveland, but he came to Cleveland. They always considered Cleveland home. He breathed his last on Friday, so on Erev Shabbat. Now there is no more pain or deterioration of his body or his mind. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. Just as Shabbat is a time of peace, so too for your dear bone Bernie. It is a time of rest and peace. And his soul is returning to God, and to be with the souls of his dear relatives and loved ones and the ancestors of our people. We learn in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. One day all of us will join our dear ones in Olam Haba, the world to come. And Olam Haba is not a place. This is a place. Olam Haba is a time. It's an eternal time. So you will be together again. The family has allowed us to send along a well-prayed from prayer book and an old Haggadah, an old Passover Haggadah with him in the casket, because not only is it a mitzvah to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, but also holy books of our church to provide respectful burial for them as well. You have many, many memories. The memories are filled to overflowing. There's so many memories to share of your dear Bernie. And we give thanks to God for this gift of long life. We would have hoped for more. However, we would only hope for more in health. And as you think of him, have a good meal, root for the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Indians. Be helpful and be kind. Candy wouldn't be bad either. And do these things in his loving memory. For only through the deeds which we perform can the world be compensated for his loss. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mubarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose Shalom b'mromav, Uya'ase Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru amen. Ya'ase Shalom, Ya'ase Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Ya'ase Shalom, Ya'ase Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. We will lower the Aron and then we will just cover catch. Adonai ma'onata ha'ita lanu b'dor v'dor, v'terem harim yudatu v'atpalel eretz v'teveo, me'olam ad olam ata'el. Tasher enoshad zaka v'tomer shuvu v'nei adam. O Lord, you have been our refuge in every generation. From Psalm 90. O Lord, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, you are God. You return us to dust. You decree, return, you mortals. For in your sight 1,000 years are as yesterday when it has passed, or as a watch in the night. You engulf us in sleep. We are like grass that renews itself. At daybreak it flourishes anew. At dusk it withers and dries up. The span of our life is 80 years and 10, or given strength 80 years. But the best of those years have trouble and sorrow. They pass by speedily, and we are in darkness. Teach us, therefore, so to number our days that we may attain a heart of wisdom. Turn to us, O God. Show mercy to your servants. Satisfy us at daybreak with your steadfast love, that we may sing for joy all our days. That your deeds be seen by your servants, your glory by your children. May your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Bernie Bader, Benjamin Ben Moshe Baruch. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. Michelle, please rise if you can for Hail Malay. El Malay Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Ametzem Nucha Nechona, Tachat Kate Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utori, Yezohar Ki Masiri, Et Nishma Benjamin Ben Moshe Baruch Shalach Olamo Ba'al Arachami Yastirehu B'Setek Rafav Le'olamim Vayitzror B'Sor HaChayim Et Nishmato Adonai Unachalato Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkabo V'Noma Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence. Benjamin Ben Moshe Baruch, dear Bernie Bader. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. May those who mourn the loss of Bernie find comfort in the hope that May those who mourn the loss of Bernie find comfort in the hope that though the dust returns to the earth as it was, the spirit returns to God who gave it. Death is not the end. Those we love have passed through the gateway of the grave into the peace of life eternal. We know that all of us must tread the same path, though we know not when the hour may come. Let us so live that the coming of that hour shall find us unafraid. May our deeds do honor to the memory of our beloved, whom you, O God, have taken to yourself. Trusting in your wisdom and loving kindness, we praise your name. And let us recite the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma yivrach v'rutei v'yamalich v'achutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayir kol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'rizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah m'varach v'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudusha barichu. Le'elah min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran v'alma v'yimru amen. The vault, our casket. We have to help this go forward. Burn his body to its final resting place. We have to go ahead. After the family is finished, anybody make up anyone makes them for we will say Kaddish for Bernie for the next 4 Friday nights. Our services right now are at 6:30. We'll be on the Kaddish list of other congregations as well. And we will recite Kaddish for them as well other places, whether the families recite Kaddish for whatever we should do so. Would everyone who is here and not wearing a ribbon, please repeat after me. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Hamakom Yinachem Etchem B'Tov She'avet Zion V'Yerushalayim.
Yeah, I can say so.
So after the burial, anyone who wishes to, the family is at Michelle and Steve's house today until 4 o'clock, 6120 Concord Court, Zolan, and then the remainder of the week at Randy and Mayer's house in Beechwood, 23813 East Main Street. The family requests, masks and social distancing measure. This concludes our service here at the cemetery.
All right, this will conclude the Zoom service here at the cemetery. We'd like to thank you all for attending by way of Zoom. Unfortunately, you could not be here but we appreciate you joining us. Thank you.